Hey guys, today I'll show you a horror thriller film named The Watchers. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins with Mina, who is just a regular employee at a local pet shop. But by night, she transforms into a completely different person, utterly captivated by role-playing. With practiced ease, she slips on a wig, dons a sultry, head-turning outfit, and heads to the bar to lose herself in a night of indulgence. Tonight, she's taken on the persona of an American ballerina. All passion, no love, that's her motto. The following morning, an order comes in from a zoo in the neighboring county. They need a parrot delivered. Mina knows she has to make the drop-off quickly, or else face her boss's endless nagging. After half a day of speeding down the highway, she realizes the destination is still far off. Frustrated, she decides to take a shortcut through a forest trail, but not long after she veers off, her phone loses signal. As if on cue, her car breaks down as well. Popping the hood, she's greeted by a plume of acrid smoke. Looking around, Mina notices only a single lonely road sign in view. It reads, "Point of no return 12." Without her GPS, Mina has no idea where she is. With no better options, she ventures into the forest, hoping to stumble across a kind-hearted hunter. Caught up in shouting for help, she doesn't notice her parrot flapping frantically toward the car as if warning her not to go any further. Sure enough, Mina gets hopelessly lost. Dusk falls, painting the sky in fiery hues as a flock of crows swirls overhead like a tempest. The ground trembles faintly. Suddenly, a shadow darts past, a white-haired old woman. Mina instinctively follows, chasing her to a small cabin. The woman urges her to hurry and get inside if she wants to stay alive. As soon as Mina steps through the door, the woman slams it shut behind her gently. Inside the cabin, Mina sees a man and a woman. The old woman introduces herself as Madeline and calls the cabin the Chicken Coop, a sanctuary for lost wanderers. Before Mina can ask any questions, a commotion erupts outside. The trio hurriedly guides her to stand before a massive two-way mirror. From the outside, every detail inside the chicken coop can be seen through the glass. Mina barely has time to process what's happening when applause echoes from beyond the mirror. Madeline explains that the Watchers, those lurking behind the glass, love watching humans and seem quite pleased with Mina's arrival. For now, she's safe. Confused and suspicious, Mina doesn't trust the strangers. At dawn, she grabs her parrot and leaves, determined to find her car. But after walking until she's out of breath, there's still no sign of it. Just as she's about to give up, a whisper drifts into her ears. She spots a girl in a red dress not far away. Panicked, Mina runs, but exhaustion soon overtakes her. Once again, Madeline rescues her and answers her questions. It turns out the forest is cursed. Anyone who sets foot in it becomes trapped, unable to find a way out, and plagued by terrifying hallucinations. The only safe zone is within a large circle centered on the chicken coop, where the curse's power weakens. The road sign marked Point of No Return 44 denotes the edge of this circle. Crossing it means leaving the safety zone, making it impossible to return. The Watchers fear sunlight and hide in burrows during the day, emerging only at night to hunt. Mina has two options: wander the forest and be devoured, or return to the chicken coop and become the Watcher's pet. Reluctantly, she chooses the latter. Every night, the Watchers gather to watch the coop's inhabitants. To keep them entertained, Daniel and Sierra, the other two residents, stage performances. By day, the group splits up. Madeline scouts for paths out of the forest, Sierra collects herbs and vegetables, and Daniel sets traps to hunt. Over time, Mina notices Daniel harbors resentment toward Madeline. Sensing an opportunity, she confides her suspicions to him. She believes Madeline is lying and that the Watchers might not even exist. To prove her theory, Mina decides to descend into one of the burrows herself. The burrow is damp and dark, save for a single beam of sunlight near the entrance. Daniel, standing above ground, clutches the rope tied around Mina, repeatedly warning her to stay in the light. Ignoring him, Mina ventures deeper into the tunnel. By the faint glow of her lighter, she discovers a trove of useful supplies. Just as she unties the rope to haul them up, something stirs in the darkness. A grotesque hand, 6 fingers and monstrous, reaches for her sexy body with evil intentions. As it stretches into the sunlight, its skin burns away instantly. The creature retreats, watching helplessly as Mina escapes with her loot. Madeline grows suspicious when the pair returns with their bounty. But Mina lies, claiming they stumbled upon the supplies along the way. Meanwhile, Daniel tinkers with a camera found in the burrow, rigging it to the chicken coop's TV to create a makeshift surveillance system. With the camera positioned at the coop's entrance, they can finally catch a glimpse of the elusive watchers. After nightfall, the sound of sobbing echoed outside the door. Sierra recognized the voice. It was her husband. She jumped up, ready to open the door, but Madeline quickly stopped her. Madeline reminded Sierra that her husband left the chicken coop over a month ago, so there's no way he could have survived and come back unscathed. This is probably a trick by the Watchers. To be certain, Madeline suggested asking a question that only Sierra's husband would know the answer to. Something deeply personal that had never been mentioned in the forest. Sierra agreed, asking what her favorite book was. As expected, her husband outside the door didn't know the answer. Sierra kept giving hints, but deep down, she already suspected the person outside wasn't her husband. Still, she refused to give up. She called out, there was a camera by his feet, and he should pick it up and take a selfie. Suddenly, a swarm of watchers emerged from the darkness. In an instant, they shredded the camera into pieces and then rushed toward the two-way mirror. They pounded and smashed at it, desperate to break into the chicken coop and tear everyone inside to shreds. In the nick of time, Madeline stepped in like a mother hen, shielding the others behind her. She bowed deeply toward the mirror, sincerely apologizing and promising never to break the rules again. Only then did the Watchers retreat. As the first rays of sunlight appeared, Madeline returned all the supplies they had taken. With a defiant smile, she declared that they would find a way out of this forest. Over the following days, Mina focused on learning the terrain, marking every path she explored. Before long, winter descended. The days grew shorter, and the forest's once abundant wild greens had withered into a carpet of dead leaves. Daniel's hunting became their only source of food, but he had returned empty-handed for several days in a row. Madeline often accompanied him on hunts, ostensibly to teach him how to properly set traps, though her tone was sharp and overbearing. Daniel, shy and withdrawn, finally snapped. One night, he tied Madeline to a tree, intending to leave her to the mercy of the darkness. When Mina tried to free her, Daniel locked them both outside the chicken coop. With the sun fully set, Mina and Madeline had no choice but to hide beneath the rotting roots of a tree. A silvery strand suddenly dripped down from above. Looking up, they realized it was the sticky saliva of a watcher. Thankfully, the stench of the tree roots seemed to mask their presence, and the creature moved on. Soon, a horde of watchers gathered in front of the two-way mirror. Realizing two people were missing from the chicken coop, they began roaring and scouring the area. Taking advantage of the chaos, Mina and Madeline made their way back to the front door, begging Daniel to let them in. Mina, desperate, told Daniel that taking someone's life might feel easy in the moment, but the guilt afterward was unbearable. She then revealed her own dark secret. It turns out Mina's mother had died because of her. It was a sunny day, and her mother had taken Mina and her sister on a road trip. Mischievous as always, Mina had insisted on rolling the car window down. An argument broke out between her and her mother. In the heat of the moment, a car came hurtling toward them. Her mother died on the spot, and her sister was left permanently disfigured. Moved by Mina's story, Daniel finally opened the door. Madeline, though furious, restrained herself from hitting him. Instead, she sternly reminded him of the danger his actions had caused. To the Watchers, humans were a collective entity. If one of them broke the rules, everyone would suffer. As the pounding on the mirror intensified, threatening to shatter it, Madeline revealed the truth. She wasn't a lost traveler like the others. She was a university professor, here to study the forest and its history. She had known about the Watchers before entering. She explained the Watchers' obsession with humans came from a desire to become human. Once, while hunting alone, Madeline had encountered a Watcher that looked exactly like her. Before she could continue, a cacophony of voices erupted outside. It was as if Madeline, Mina, Sierra, Daniel, and even Sierra's long-dead husband were all talking at once. The Watchers were mimicking their voices, repeating their words in an eerie, robotic fashion. Just as the chicken coop was about to be breached, they discovered a hidden trapdoor beneath the carpet. Opening it revealed a secret room, stocked with enough food and water to last for years. Mina rushed to a computer inside and found a hard drive full of video footage. Clicking on a file, she saw an old man appear to flex his beard on the screen. He introduced himself as a history professor. It was he who had set up the road signs and built the chicken coop with the help of workers. At first, the professor had been optimistic about his research, dreaming of transferring the Watcher's abilities to humans. But when he saw a Watcher take on his likeness and devour fresh human flesh, he was horrified. He realized that the Watchers could never fully replicate human appearances. They'd sometimes get the spacing of the eyes wrong or end up with extra fingers. Most importantly, they were incapable of possessing humanity. This final, critical conclusion came after countless experiments. In an effort to instill humanity in the Watchers, the professor tried feeding them raw human brains. He lured workers into the forest, trapping them in the chicken coop while he hid in the secret room, leaving the workers to be devoured. Toward the end of his experiments, the professor made a new discovery. A young Watcher, in the form of a red-haired little girl, approached him. She appeared innocent, curious, and full of childlike wonder. Intrigued, the professor locked her in the secret room and began patiently teaching her every day. On the 300th day of the experiment, the professor succumbed to severe mental illness. Armed with a gun, he opened the secret room and stormed out, recklessly firing at the Watchers. In the end, he fell beneath their claws. In his final moments, he spoke into the camera, revealing the method to escape the forest and pleading with anyone who stumbled into this cursed place to do him one last favor. Mina carefully noted down the professor's dying words, determined to leave as soon as dawn broke. That night was their last in the chicken coop. No one knew if their escape would lead to salvation or doom, and the heavy uncertainty weighed on everyone. Sierra pressed play on a tape recorder, letting music fill the somber silence. She began to dance gracefully. For so long, her performances had been for the Watchers, but this time, she danced for herself and her companions. Moved by her performance, everyone felt a surge of courage. Daniel mustered the strength to open up to Sierra. He confessed that his father was an abusive alcoholic who had beaten him since childhood. On the day he ran away from home, he had contemplated killing his father, but couldn't bring himself to do it. Sierra gently embraced the 18-year-old boy. She knew Daniel wasn't a bad person. He was just lonely and isolated. Sierra said if they could make it out, he could come live with her. When the long night finally ended, the group hurriedly left the shattered chicken coop behind, following the trail Mina had marked. They reached the edge of the protective barrier. The professor's final instructions echoed in Mina's mind. Birds know the direction of the wind. Follow them and they will find the way out. Mina released her intelligent parrot, and they trailed closely behind it. Soon, a massive stone slab loomed before them. Madeline recognized it as the tomb of the fairies. Long ago, humans and fairies had coexisted peacefully, but after a brutal war, the fairies' wings were severed and they were banished to underground crypts. Over time, they transformed into terrifying monsters. For centuries, some of these creatures had clawed their way to the surface, but without their wings and magic, they could never leave the cursed forest. Humans had given them a new name, the Watchers. As dusk began to settle, the group quickened their pace. Cold rain and biting wind lashed at their exhausted, hungry bodies. Madeline encouraged them, her resilience reigniting their strength. Suddenly, a swarm of crows burst through the trees, their frantic flight signaling danger. The Watchers had awakened. Moments later, the sun plunged below the horizon. The four of them ran for their lives, chasing the parrot until they reached a lake. In the center was Salvation, a wooden boat left behind by the professor. If they could push it into the water, they would be safe. The Watchers couldn't cross the lake. The clear water burned their flesh like acid. At the critical moment, Daniel heard Sierra's husband's voice crying for help. Without hesitation, he turned back to save him, oblivious to the fact that this man was actually a Watcher in disguise. Recklessly heroic, tragically naive, Daniel was lost to the darkness. The remaining three managed to push the boat into the water. As it drifted away, their sorrow over losing a companion mingled with the overwhelming relief of escaping hell. Tears streamed down their faces as they rowed until their arms gave out. When warm sunlight finally melted the chill from their bodies, the three woke to the sight of a bus speeding across a bridge in the distance. They were back in the real world. Mina didn't forget the professor's last request. She headed straight to the university where he had taught, disguising herself as his niece to gain access to his office. Her plan was to destroy all records of the Watchers. To her surprise, the office was untouched, preserved exactly as it had been. What shocked her even more was Madeline's true identity. She was the professor's wife, who had died of lung cancer in 2001. Mina later visited Sierra's house and recounted everything. She speculated that the professor had risked venturing into the cursed forest in an attempt to resurrect his beloved wife. Though he managed to capture a Watcher, he discovered the painful truth. Resurrection was an illusion. The creature could mimic his wife's appearance, but her soul was gone. What was the point of a body without a soul? The professor had tried to end the experiment and destroy the Watchers, but they turned on him. The Watcher he had locked in the secret room had escaped and lived among them, impersonating Madeline the entire time. Just as Mina finished her story, two headlights pierced through the window. Sierra stepped out of the car. However, if Sierra was in the car, who was the person standing beside? The answer hit her like a lightning bolt. It was the Watcher Madeline, disguised as Mina. Realizing its cover was blown, the Watcher attacked, knocking Sierra unconscious. It then morphed into Mina's likeness, taunting the real Mina as she struggled to comprehend what was happening. The Watcher shared its tragic story. Unlike its kind, it had been born able to walk in sunlight. This anomaly earned it the title of Daywalker and made it a pariah among its peers. Mocked and ostracized, it longed to escape the forest and the ridicule of its kind. When it met the professor, it had approached him with kindness, trusting his promise to help it leave the forest. But the professor had betrayed it, raising a gun instead. In the Watcher's eyes, humans were deceitful and unworthy, fit only to be pets in their chicken coops. Now it intended to kill Mina and take her place in the human world, beginning a new life as her. After listening to everything, Mina suddenly became calm. She opened the door willingly and said to Madeline that after she caused her mother's death, everyone around her called her a freak too. Madeline wasn't moved by Mina's empathy. She slowly lifted Mina's heavy body off the ground like lifting a little chicken, her sharp claws inches away from slashing her chicken throat. But Mina's gaze remained steady as she spoke that they were not monsters. They were just fools, trapped by the pain of their past, and the professor hid the truth about who it was. Hearing this, the Madeline Watcher loosened her grip and gestured for Mina to continue. It turns out, the professor's research revealed that before fairies became the wingless creatures they are now, they were humanity's friends, sometimes even their lovers. They gave birth to many human-fairy hybrids, known as the Cursed Ones, or Daywalkers. Among all creatures, their ability to transform was the most powerful, and legends say they could even bring the dead back to life. But after the war, the fairies were imprisoned in the forest, and the Daywalkers were hunted to near extinction by humans. The legends claimed they were completely wiped out, but one Daywalker was born in this forest. Fairies aren't misled by the forest. They can find the exit. Yet because of the curse, they cannot leave. The Madeline Watcher couldn't find the exit, but it could leave the forest once it found it. The fairies treated it as half-human and placed all their hatred for humans onto the Watcher. The professor didn't see the Watcher as a person either. To him, it was just a tool to resurrect his dead wife. Both sides concealed the truth about the Watcher's origins while hurting and imprisoning it without restraint. It seemed like there was no place for it in this world. But right now, she was standing here telling the Watcher that it was a fairy, and it was also human, just like her. Humanity is multifaceted. It harbors hatred and jealousy, but it also holds love and forgiveness. In that moment, the Madeline Watcher forgave everyone who had hurt her, including the fairies. It also embraced the lonely, suffering version of itself from the past. It was no longer the beautiful fairy it once was, but in its heart, it carried a pair of radiant, ethereal wings. Madeline disappeared into the night and was never seen by Mina again. Yet Mina knew that Madeline hadn't truly left. It had taken on a different form and stayed by Mina's side. Maybe as a man, maybe as a woman, maybe as a little red-haired girl by the roadside. Mina had grown used to this quiet, distant companionship. It brought warmth to two lonely hearts. The story ended here, a tale Mina shared with her nephews. She had returned to live with her twin sister, helping her single sister raise the children together. A mistake once made can never be erased, just as Mina's mother would never come back to life and the scars on her sister's face would never fade. But Mina decided to face her past with courage. She vowed to spend the rest of her life offering love and care to atone for her sins. After all, to err is human, but to correct those errors is the greatest virtue of all. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.